time, I didn't work a job. I didn't have an income. I didn't have the money. I couldn't help her. You see, one of the best times we have in our life is when we're helpless. Most people don't realize that. When we're helpless, that's the perfect time to pay attention.
Hey, we got the man himself. What's going on?
Good day, good day, good day, JD. Hope you're doing well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're just going through it, making sure that the people can hear you properly. I want to make sure y'all can see my face. So
Awesome.
Good morning for me, but good evening for you. You're out there in the UK.
Right. That's right. That's right. In the UK, it's GMT. So we are 5 p.m. We just passed 5 p.m. So glad to be here. Glad for the invitation.
Yes, yes, definitely. And for everybody tuning in for the first time, I'm glad we got a few people here in the morning for us. It is Saturday, so I know a lot of people rest, but this is going to be an episode for the Paint Your Future podcast. So for everybody that's tuning in for the first time, this is where your dreams paint your future. We're talking to high income earning entrepreneurs, and the whole goal is to discuss mindset. Where's the similarities on mindset to make sure that you could even have a high income? On top of that, you know, what path is it that you're taking? And I think you are an amazing person to fit within this realm. You're doing a lot. So before I even pump you up and tell people how great you are, go ahead and just introduce yourself. How would you say what you do and how you do it?
Thank you so much, JD. Well, look, for those of you who are tuning in, I am a cash flow creator. That's why I call myself a cash flow creator. But basically, I help other people to become cash flow creators too. And I do that creatively in the property investment, or in the US, you guys will call it the real estate space. And the way I do that is I teach people strategies, skills, and systems in order for them to go from working full time in order to generate revenue and cash flow from property assets. So that's what I do. You know, we got our own property investment company. Between my wife and I, we also have a property management company. And then side by side with that, we do all of the coaching and training and support people to move forward in that regard as well.
It's amazing, man. It's amazing. So cash flow is king. That's what they say, right?
That's what they say.
So one of the reasons why I even call it the Paint Your Future podcast is because for me, in my mind, I find art within everything. I'm not a painter, you know, I am an artist. I do poetry, music, but with this business, there's a craft behind it. And some of the few people that I speak to, when they notice there's a craft and they're able to literally, you know, create and hone in on their skills, those are the ones that just take off. So the Paint Your Future podcast is exactly for that. And the first question is for you. How do you paint your future? What is your craft? And, you know, what are the things that you're doing to really create your masterpiece?
That's powerful. That's powerful. And that's a great question, JD. I don't even think on any interview I've ever been interviewed, I've been asked a question, which I think is so powerful to start with. So for me, I've got this simple formula and I share it. I share the formula all the time, but people don't realize how I use the formula. So because of your question, I can share that. So that formula is the triple S formula. That's why I call it the triple S formula. And guys, I'm just going to say this. I'm not a rocket scientist. Yes, I've studied 4 degrees, but I wasn't smart enough to create this formula myself. I learned this formula. I literally discovered this formula in the pages of the Bible. Okay. So one day, I share with you how I found the formula. One day I'm reading John chapter 4 in the Bible. And in John chapter 4, you see Jesus, he meets this woman at the well. Okay. And the woman's like, oh, you want water from me, but you got nothing to draw. She keeps saying, you got nothing to draw. You got nothing to draw. And at the time, I think the reason this spoke to me so strong is because Jesus says to her, if you knew who I was, you would ask me for water and I would give you rivers of living water that would never run dry. So when I heard that, that was the first trigger for me, because that sounded to me like cash flow. Like if you think about it, this is a woman, like most human beings, who every 30 days is going back to the well. Wow. Hello, somebody. You know, in the US, I know you guys, sometimes you get your checks every 14 days, but it's the same principle. In the UK, people get paid every month, but it's the same principle. You know, most people, they're going back to the source every 30 days, back to the well every 30 days, back to the job, waiting for the paycheck from the 30-day hits. Now, Jesus says, listen, if you knew who you were talking to, you wouldn't be asking me for water, for normal water from this place where you have to keep coming back. I'll give you water that will never run dry. So I was reading that in John chapter 4, and I'm thinking to myself, hold on a minute, is Jesus saying that what he's going to provide is like cash flow? It's just going to keep on coming in again and again and again and again, regardless of what you do in the future, because you did the work in the past. So after he says that, he says to the woman, he keeps talking to the woman, then he says to her, listen, go and bring me your husband? And she says she hasn't got a husband. And he says, that's right. He goes, you don't have a husband. You've been with a number of men, and the man you're with right now is not even your husband. Okay. So for me, again, that was like business. That was like, go call your partners, go call your JV partners, the people you're connects, the people you're working with. And she said, look, I haven't had a sustainable relationship. That's what she's saying. I haven't had a sustainable connection. I haven't had a sustainable joint venture in order for me to succeed. So he goes, okay, cool. Gives her the secret. She says, look, I think you're the prophet. I think you're the man of God. She leaves and she goes and tells other people. So that's the first S in the triple S formula that I use to paint my future. And that's, I've got to say it. I've got to say it. I've literally got to say it. Yeah, I've got to speak. Like this woman, she meets Jesus at the well. Jesus shows her, look, I got the goods. You don't have the goods. But what's the first thing she does when she leaves? She goes to speak. She goes to tell other people, hey, I met a guy today. He's got the goods. Hey, I met a guy today. He told me everything I ever did. Hey, I met a guy today. He's got the bag. So I've got to say it. I've got to say it. That's the first S in the triple S formula. Then straight after saying it, the people she tells about Jesus, they all run to come meet him at the well. And it says that he starts healing people. And then the next thing that says is so powerful. It says, many of them who came because of the woman's words, saying it, started to believe because of what they saw. So you know what the second S is in the triple S formula. I got to say it, but I then have to see it. Because you see, I don't know if you've heard the old saying, JD, they say seeing is believing.
Right, yeah.
So the reality is most people say seeing is believing, and because of that, they think they got to see first. What they don't realize is you cannot see first. You never get the authority to see if you first haven't said.
Say that again. Hold on. Say that again.
You never get the authority to see if you first haven't said. All right, let me give this to you before we even finish the triple S. All right. In the beginning, Genesis chapter 1, it says God created the heaven and earth, and God said, let there be light. He said it, now we see it. You got to say it before you can see it. Let me give you a real one that everyone can relate to, because, you know, some people might be like, oh, that Bible stuff, it don't work for me. Okay, true. Let me make it simple. In your life, if you're thinking about buying a new car, you say, okay, I want the new Mercedes GLS. You said that. You go maybe look at it. What happens when you leave your house now? You start seeing GLSs everywhere.
That happened when I got my last one. That's crazy. Every corner is the car I wanted.
There you go. You start thinking to yourself, hold on a minute, did a new Mercedes showroom open up on my street? I just said I wanted the GLS yesterday, but now I see the GLS everywhere. So you have to say it before you can see it. Let me even go deeper. The reason you have to say it before you can see it is because even if the thing's right in front of you, if you don't say it, you won't recognize it when it's in front of you. So that's the second S. You got to say it, then you got to see it. That's one, okay? So these people, they found Jesus, he starts healing people, and they now start believing. Because for me, painting my future is all about my belief. It's all about what do I believe. So I've got to say what I want to believe. I then got to see what I want to believe. But then the last thing is where most people fell. I've got to, as we say in our modern day and age, I've got to lean in. So what's the S on that? I've got to seek it. The Bible says, I've got to seek it. The Bible says in the book of Matthew, it says, seek and you will find. It don't say seek and you might find.
You will find.
There you go. You got a whole bunch of people in our day and age who aren't seeking. They're just looking. So seeking is more active. So I've got to say it, I've got to see it, and then I've got to seek it. So if you want me to tell you how I paint my future, every piece of the future I've created in my life, every piece of the future I'm going to continue to create comes from the triple S formula that I found in John chapter 4. That's I got to say it, I got to see it, I got to seek it, and then I'll believe it and I'll receive it.
Man, that's amazing, bro. And how you break it down so simply, it helps me comprehend it. Because for a lot of people, you know, God is the truth, right? But for people to comprehend it, it's tough because of the language. So I think that's something that's super important is like the language. People don't recognize the language and they can't comprehend it in today's world. So now going into business and talking about how you're painting your canvas, there's some type of connection, right? Whether your canvas is on a canvas, actual canvas, or whether it's on the phone or whether it's in business, what brought you to your canvas connection in real estate? How did you get started with that?
That's powerful. So there's like 5 different ways I got started, but I'll give you like 2 or 3 quick ones. So the
Okay.
first thing was I was 11 years old. You know, my mom used to drag me to church when I was young. And the thing that was interesting is my mom used to work for a bank. She used to work for a bank in London. And one day she came home, I'm 11 years old, and she says, look, I lost my job. They made me redundant. Okay. Now, my mom had worked for that bank for 15 years. That's more years than I was alive. Okay. Now, at the time, I didn't work a job. I didn't have an income. I didn't have the money. I couldn't help her. I could, like, you see, one of the best times we have in our life is when we're helpless. Most people don't realize
Wow.
that. When we're helpless, that's the perfect time to pay attention. You see, most times when we're winning, we don't pay attention. But paying attention is how we really paint our futures. So for me, the powerful thing for me was my mom was saying she lost her job. She then started to struggle to pay her mortgage. And I'm watching this as an 11-year-old, knowing I can't do anything. So you know what happened for me? I saw what I now deal with every single day, which was my first motivated seller. It was my mom. My mom was motivated to sell her house because she couldn't pay her mortgage. She couldn't make her mortgage payments. So she went to the agents, to the estate agents, or as you say in the US, the realtors. She went to the real estate agents to help her sell her house. And the real estate agents, they couldn't help her in the speed she needed because she can't pay her mortgage. She needs speed. Most people who go to a realtor, they don't need speed. They need as much money as possible. They're not bothered about speed. So fast forward to the age of 19, I worked my first full-time job. I worked as an estate agent. So I'm working in this estate agency and I'm realizing something. I'm really realizing, hold on a minute, nothing operates based on speed here. Everything's based on money. Everything's based on commission. I.e., let me give you an example. Someone comes into the store, they want to sell their house. I say, well, hold on a minute, it's the 25th today. I already hit my target because it's commission based. I already hit my target in the office. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to keep your house and sell it next month. So I will
just
delay
the target.
Yeah, just check it out. Check it like this, JD. Let's say my target in 1 month is to sell £1 million worth of property. Now, I've just sold this month, 21st, let's say it's the 25th of February. I've just sold this month 4 properties, each of them 250,000, right? So I've hit my target, right? So I'm going to get my bonus or whatever.
Right.
But next month in March, I don't know if I'm going to hit my target. So when you come in on the 25th of Feb and you tell me you need to sell your house, I'm like, okay, I'm going to help you sell your house, but I'm going to help you help me.
In March.
Because if I sell your house in March, I'm already fast forwarding to my target in March. So I started to see when I worked as an estate agent that this was what was happening behind the scenes. This was the reason why people like my mom couldn't sell her house quickly, because the agents are more interested in their bonuses and their commission and their financial structure. So this is what led me to say, you know what? How could I start a business where I don't help everybody? I only help the people who need to sell with speed.
Right. And they say there's a saying, I listen to Nehemiah Davis, and he says all the time, success loves speed. So success loves speed, and that's exactly an example of what's needed to really get it done.
And that's true. That's true. Like, that's so true. Like, like as you're talking, I just want to break down a whole lesson, but I don't know if we got time. I don't even know if we got time because I got a whole lesson that I teach on this. But the central tenets is this. Whenever we buy anything, it doesn't matter what it is, sneakers, cars, houses, whenever we buy anything, there are 3 fundamentals that we're looking for. Speed, certainty, and money.
Certainty and money. Okay.
Now, check this out, JD. We are conditioned from education, school, etc., to look at the money. Why? Because when we go to school, I used to teach maths in schools. When you go to school, what do they say in the textbook? Which one is the best deal?
Right.
And they always expect you to find the best deal, i.e. the cheapest deal, the money.
Right.
So let me break this down. All right. Walmart. Why do people shop in Walmart? Because they know the aisles are all organized. They got the names, the labels, everything. So what do you get? You get speed. I can get in, I can get out, I know where everything is.
It's efficiency.
There you go, which is the speed. Efficiency produces speed. The next thing, why do people shop in Walmart? You want to go buy some cheesecake. Why do you choose Walmart over the local grocery store? Well, the local grocery store might not have what you want in stock. But the Walmart is humongous. Like in the UK, we've got Asda. Asda got bought by Walmart a few years back. You've got Asda. Why would you go shop in Asda instead of the local supermarket? Because they've got certainty. It's a superstore. So the likelihood of the product you're looking for being there is high. Certainty. And the last one, after the speed and certainty, is money. Why'd you go to a local store? Why'd you go to the Walmart store? Why'd you go to any of these big superstores? Because you know they're going to give it to you at a cost-effective price. So these are the three components to every sale: speed, certainty, and money. Now, this is what most people don't realize, JD. When life is all good, we do what we're conditioned to do. And what's that? Look for the money out of the three. So most people don't even know that they're looking for speed and certainty. They only think they're looking for the cheapest or the best deal.
I see that all the time. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's right.
The details behind it don't support the money that's spent.
There you go. But when life is not good, JD, when people are in dire situations or challenging situations, they stop looking at the money because the money is no longer the most important. The speed becomes more important. If you can't pay your mortgage and in 6 weeks, you're going to be put out on the street, you're going to have 7 years of bankruptcy, CCJs. In the UK, we call them CCJs, credit marks on your file. If you're going to get all of that drama in 7 weeks, if you can't sell your house, speed becomes way more important than the money. So you see, they're the three keys to every sale: speed, certainty, and money. But what people don't realize is those scales always shift depending on the circumstance you're in.
And that's why it's important when you're in adversity. That's when you're the most clearest, because the money doesn't matter.
There you go.
And speaking of money, one thing that was super powerful when we first talked on the phone, man, you had like 1, 2, 3 things all at once, just gems all day. But something I definitely wanted to touch on this podcast, you mentioned there's 3 types of money when it comes to real estate. Now, not everybody's going to do real estate, but it's important to know this stuff because if you're a homeowner, if you end up looking to be a homeowner in the future, this should probably be something that we know. So I definitely wanted you to break down those 3 types and, however you explain it, feel free.
Definitely. I'll definitely do that. So what I usually do, and it's funny you brought this up, JD, because I usually explain this as the biggest mistake property investors make. All right. So it's one of my lessons that I teach people, the biggest mistake property investors make. And the whole key about this is focus. So I'm gonna come back to that in a moment, but I'll break it down. So in property, what most people don't realize is there are only 3 types of money you can make. Okay, only 3. If you're tuned in, if you're live, let us know in the chat how many types. There's only 3 types of money you can make. All right. Now let me say this, JD. I'll show you something. I don't want anyone to say Samuelicanwins said there's only 3 ways to make money. There is not 3. Listen.
There's more. There's more.
I created this. Okay. This program is called 30 Ways in 30 Days. All right. The subtitle says multiple ways to generate revenue using property. All right. In this program alone, I teach people 30 ways. All right. So I'm telling you, I'm not saying there's only 3 ways to make money in property. I'm saying there's only 3 types of money you can make in property. All right. So that has to be clear. All right. Okay. Now, I believe there are hundreds of ways to make money in property, but I know there's only 3 types of money we can make. So let's jump in. The first way, equity. Okay. So I'll give you an example. In 2017, my wife and I, we bought a property. The property was valued at $240,000 and we bought it for $130,000. Okay. So instantly right there, we locked in £100,000 of equity. Okay. You do that 10 times in a year, you got $1 million in equity. You added £1 million or $1 million, depending on if you're in the US, to your net worth. All right. You can really paint your future like that. The only problem with that is it's equity, and equity is money stuck in bricks. All right. So what does that mean? Well, I like suits. Okay. I can't buy any suits with equity.
Right.
Because the money is literally stuck inside of the bricks. All right. So equity is one way, one type of money we can make in property, but equity is always stuck in the bricks. So you can't use it. You can't buy clothes. You can't buy watches. You can't buy anything with it. It's stuck in the bricks. So equity is one type of money. The
Okay.
second type of money, profits. Okay. The second type is profits. Now, I'll give you an example. I got some dollars here. Let me use that to make it make sense. So let's say, for example, I go and buy a house for $100,000. All right. I keep some dollars on my desk all the time. Keep me international. All right.
Right.
So
Right.
I go buy a house. It's $100,000. Now in America, you guys call it a rehab. In the UK, we call it a refurbishment. So let's say I spend 20,000 refurbishing or rehabbing the property. Let's say I take the garage, I turn the garage into a bedroom. That's my 20,000 spent. Okay. So I paid 100,000 for the house. I put 20,000 in to rehab or to refurbish the property. Now, let's say I sell the property, I put it on the market and I sell it for 150. Okay. So I bought for 100, I spent 20 to refurbish, and now sold for 150. Okay. How much is my pre-tax profit? Before I pay tax, I put 100 in, I put 20 on top. Now I sold for 150, 30,000. You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. So 30,000 is my profit. Now I got to pay tax and all that. But for a moment, let's put the tax to the side. So I've liquidated £30,000 or $30,000 in that deal we just spoke about. All right. The strategy we call that is a flip. It's the same name in the US, the same name in the UK. All right. So that's a flip. Now, what's the problem with profit? Well, the problem with profit is, yes, I got 30,000, but if you like watches, if you like cars, if you're like my wife, if you like shoes, you're going to buy a new car, you're going to buy some shoes, you're going to buy another watch, and that 30,000 is gone. The moose is gone.
And the ownership isn't there. Like, you don't have the house once you sell it. It could appreciate down the line and you don't have nothing.
You're even going deeper, JD. But that's the reality. Like, one thing I say to people is when you sell a property, you will never make money from that property again for the rest of your life. So you got to think about it. You got to make wise moves when you do real estate or when you do property, because you've got to know what you're doing. So exactly like you just said, the challenge now becomes, hold on a minute, I liquidated 30,000, but I've spent it. So I usually call profits a time bomb waiting to happen, because when the money's gone, you have to do all that work again.
Right. Start from scratch.
There you go. So that's equity and that's profits. Now, the last of the three types of money you can make in property is my good friend. Okay. And the reason it's my good friend is because of two things. One, it's really the only way to replace an income. So if you're working a full-time job, this is the best way to replace your income from real estate or property. And the second reason why is if you're a part of the older generation and you're trying to have a pension or some revenue coming in where you don't have to depend on it, then again, it's the best way to do that. And that is cash flow. So there is equity, there is profit, but cash flow now is the residual income that you are receiving every single God-blessed month from the resources, the properties you've already set up, acquired, controlled, or owned. So that's a complete different level now. Because now it's not just about, oh, I got 100,000 in bricks, but I can't use it to buy a suit. It's not just about, oh, I got 30,000, but when the stack's gone, I got to do the work again. Now it's, I did the work once, I get paid for life. So that's cash flow.
And then the thing that I like about what you're saying with cash flow is, in my mind, I had recently read the book, The One Thing. And it's like, what's the one thing that you could do that continuously will make every other thing that you do easier? And it sounds like cash flow is one of those one things. That's
it. Cash flow is the one thing. You see, when it comes to property, if you understand that there's only three types of money, let's go back to the core. I said, why do I teach this lesson? Because I want people to understand the biggest mistake property investors make, they don't focus.
So focus is the important part.
That's the key, that's the heart of it, JD. Because what happens for most people is they get told, like I got told when they're young, you can't go wrong with real estate. You can't go wrong with property. And the moment we're told that, we think that anything we do in property is going to be a win. We don't realize that, no, we can lose. Ask the people in 2008, 2009 from the crash. You can lose in property. And one of the
Mm.
easiest ways to lose is to not focus. When you understand there's 3 different types of money that you can make from property, don't go into property trying to make all 3 at once. That's what most people do. Oh, I want to buy this house and I want to have 50,000 discount on day 1. And
Mm.
when I sell the property, I'm going to be able to make 100,000 when I sell it of a profit. And also every single month, I want to make $1,000 as well, £1,000. It don't work like that. The best way to do it, if you really want to transition, is focus on one type of money from property. Now, I'm not saying don't focus on equity. I'm not saying don't focus on profit. But what I'm saying is if you're trying to replace an income, you might as well focus on cash flow because it's the only one that makes sense. And
Right.
after you built your cash flow, relax. Then you might say, okay, cool. I got £17,000 coming every single month in my account. All right, now I want some money in the bank. Now I focus on some profit moves. But for most
Mm.
people, the foundation, the floor, the key is to start with cash flow creation.
Man, and with all of this information, real estate, you're talking about there's 30 ways, 100 ways. You're able to do this podcast, be in challenges like the one that we met in.
Yep.
You must have a big team to do this. I mean, what type of team does it take for you to get, what you're doing?
Okay, first and foremost, I love that question, all right? So I'm going to tell you guys a little story, then I'm going to give you the answer, all right?
Okay,
So
got it.
again, guys, I'm taking you back to the Bible. Like, I just find the Bible the easiest way to explain everything, all right?
No.
So I'm reading in the Bible one day, Genesis, okay? In the book of Genesis, you see the story about Joseph. So Joseph's this guy, he has a dream, all right? And when he has a dream, he tells his family, hey guys, look, I had this dream. You know what they do? They throw him in a pit. They beat him up and throw him in a pit and sell him as a slave. Like, imagine how crazy that is just for having a dream. And I think it makes sense sharing this because we're on the Paint Your Future podcast, right? So
Right.
whilst you're painting your future, telling people about your dream, just beware. Some people might beat you up, throw you in the pit, and sell you as a slave. All right.
Oh my God.
So this is what happened to Joseph. Now, fast forward years later, Joseph ends up in prison. He finds himself in prison, falsely accused. Let me add that. And he finds 2 guys in the prison who say to him, hey, Joseph, we just had a dream. So Joseph has a gift. He knows how to tell dreams. So he tells the first guy, listen, this is what your dream means. He tells the second guy, listen, this is what your dream means. After he tells them both, one of them dies and the other one goes back to the palace where he came from. When he goes back to the palace 2 years later, and I want you guys to understand this because when you're painting your future, sometimes it might take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years for the stuff you've been painting to show up. But
Right.
2 years later, the king, the pharaoh, okay, it's Egypt. So they got pharaohs, which we will call kings today. But the king, the president, whoever's in charge, the king, he wakes up one day and he has a dream. He says, look, I've got this dream. It's bugging me. I need to know what the purpose, the meaning of the dream is. And when he says he needs to know the meaning of the dream, the guy who Joseph helped before 2 years ago, he says, listen, king, pharaoh, I know you don't know what your dream means, but 2 years ago when you threw me in prison, there was a guy in the prison who told me what my dream means. I think this guy will help you know what your dream means, Mr. Pharaoh, Mr. King. So what does the Pharaoh do? Anything that a smart guy with all the money would do, he goes, gets the guy out of the prison and says, listen, I heard you got a gift. I heard you can tell me what my dream means. Joseph says, okay, I got a gift. I want to tell you first, it's not my gift. I got it from God, but I'll help you with my gift. So he says, all right, tell me what my dream means. Long story short, Joseph tells him what his dream means. The Pharaoh then says, me and you are going to collab. We're going to work together. Why am I sharing this? Because you said, JD, you want to know how big does the team need to be? So I want you guys to understand the 2 of them started to collab, the king and Joseph. Now, why did they collab? One had a dream, one had a gift. That gift could tell the dream. So the Pharaoh says to Joseph, listen, you're going to execute. Everything you said in the dream, you're going to execute. So between the 2 of them, they ran the biggest kingdom that we know today. Between Joseph and the Pharaoh, they ran the biggest kingdom of Egypt that we know today. So why is that important? It's important because I want everyone to understand when you're building your property investment team, you don't need 100 people. You don't need 200 people. You don't have to be the next Keller Williams to make enough cash flow to change your life. Sometimes all you need is someone with a dream and someone with a gift. I hope you understand that. So with us,
That's tight.
JD, I see you, JD, holding it.
I'm
All right,
taking notes
so
right now. I got like 2
I
pages
love
already.
it.
Good.
I love it. I love it. Listen, so my wife and I, Robbie, that's my beautiful other half. The two of us, we are the co-directors of our team. We use a bunch of freelancers. We got freelancers from all over the world. We got virtual assistants. We got executive assistants. We got a whole bunch of people. But the predominant team at max is like 8 people. And 6 to 7 of those people, well, I'd say 5 to 6 of those people are freelancers. So we're just paying them on a need-by-need basis.
Okay, that's
That's how
dope.
we paint the future.
That's amazing. No, I like that story. And something that stood out to me is because originally you said that Joseph, when he spoke his dream, he went to prison. And then
Mm-hmm.
what took him away from being a prisoner was a pharaoh, which was a status. So
That's right.
it's something that draws me back to what I've seen in my life, and the reason why I like commission and why I like being an entrepreneur is because all it takes is one. All it takes is one person to
You
believe in
said
your
it.
one dream. All it takes is one sale to change your one problem. And
That's
it's
right.
really like you can be failing and failing and failing for months, for years. And it's just that one thing that gets you out of it, that takes you from
That's right.
prison to creating the biggest empire. And it's dope that it's in the Bible that we could see the truth and basically just relate it to whatever industry we're in. I think that was
I
super
love that.
powerful.
I love that. Powerful. Thank you for sharing, JD, man.
Man, I love it. And I think so you mentioned you have a team and it's all freelancers. Something that I've seen, because I do a few different things. Right now, insurance is probably my main source of income. And
Mm-hmm.
as freelancers, you want to be able to get paid for production. You want to have results based off of your work, right?
Yeah.
How do you keep your team motivated as far as, to accomplish the certain things that you need done? What are
Mm.
the things to motivate the people around you, let's say when they're not producing or when you're just bringing them on? How do you keep people excited?
Powerful. I love that. So the key way that we keep people excited is from a principle that I learned. Maxwell, one of the books from John Maxwell.
Okay.
And one of the things John Maxwell said, he still promotes this till this day, is vision casting. Vision casting.
Fishing
And
casting.
again, it's so powerful because we're on the Paint Your Future podcast. So again, this is crucial. So what is vision casting? Well, vision casting is not just painting your future, but telling people what you painted. You see,
Mm,
we come from a society where people tell you, oh, keep your dream to yourself. Don't tell anybody your dream. Well, let me tell you something. If Joseph never told his brothers his dream, he wouldn't have been thrown into a pit and sold into slavery in order for him to work in the prime minister's palace, which later turned out to him actually becoming on the pulpit with the Pharaoh. He wouldn't have ended up
wow.
with the Pharaoh. So Joseph ended up with the Pharaoh all because he vision casted. When he had that dream, when he painted his future, when he saw himself standing up and people bowing down, if he didn't start saying that, he would not start seeing that, and he couldn't start seeking that. So again, it comes back to
Mm,
what I started with, the triple S formula. You got to say it, you got to see it, you got to seek it. So with our team, what we always do is we cast vision. We let them know, look, this is what we're doing right now, but this is how it affects the future. This is what the future is going to look like, especially if you're staying with us. If you ain't staying with us, you got to paint your own future. But with
wow.
us, in 12 years from here, in 4 years from here, in 3 years from here, in 10 years from here, this is what the future is going to look like. So if you are down for that future, you need to be doing what we got to do today, because it's today's seeds that are going to produce tomorrow's trees.
Man. And then there's a harvest,
That,
the
there,
the
there has
different
to be there
seasons, the
has to be
different
a harvest.
seasons. Yeah.
There has to be. You see, JD, you said something powerful there, and then there's the harvest. Do you know this? All right, most people don't know this. Check this out. The harvest is in a chokehold to the work. What does that mean? What that
Mm,
means is harvest doesn't get to choose if it can or cannot show up. Harvest is a byproduct of planting the seed, taking care of the seed, and letting the seed get everything it needs. See,
wow.
harvest doesn't have a choice. What do they say in personal development? Which means the same thing. They say success and failure are both predictable.
Mm,
That's right. If you know what you're doing every single day, success doesn't. You see, I see so many people who think, I wish
right.
one day they can be successful. I wish one day I can have success. And sometimes I laugh Because I think, listen, do you think success has a choice whether it can come into your life or not? Success is waiting for you. Success is literally waiting for you to do what you got to do. Because when you do what you got to do, success doesn't have a choice. Success has to show up.
And speaking of vision casting and harvest and how it has a chokehold, when you vision cast, do you have a time frame? Is that like 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? What way do you vision cast when you have a team?
That's another powerful question. So with our team members, depending on how integral they are to our organization, it will determine how far out we paint the picture. All right. So for me and my wife, because we're the co-directors, we be painting the picture out 10 years, 20 years. Okay. And the reason we do that is because we got children as well. So we want to know, okay, when is this child going to have the opportunity to work with us, to take over the business, to move into the next gear?
Wow.
So we will paint the picture at that high level, my wife and I, 10 years, 20 years. Wow. When we start working with certain people, like our executive assistants, they're real close to us. They understand all we're doing, everything we're doing, because they're managing all things. So with the executive assistants, we'll be painting out for them like 5 years from now, because we want people at that higher level to stick with us for a long time. So we got to paint the picture for a long time. Now, to help the people tuned into this, what I will say is cast a vision for the length that you would like at least that person to stay with you.
For that person to stay with you. Okay. So whether it's 6 months, a year, 2 years.
It don't matter. Like if you got temporary staff that are doing one project for you, then just paint the picture of the project. What's the end goal of the project? Why? Because at the end of the project, you're not going to have them. So there's no point painting a picture of 15 years. That's not going to excite them. Remember the question you asked me, how do you vision cast to energize your audience? Well, if I'm trying to energize my team, my audience, I need to paint a picture for the length of time that works for them, not works for me. One of the biggest mistakes people make in sales, in marketing, in business in general, is they only think about themselves. They're self-centered. You know, and one thing I like to tell people all the time is there is no such thing as self-made. It takes a mama and a papa for you to show up. So if there's no such thing as self-made, don't go into a board meeting with your executive assistant and be selling to her what only works for you, because that's not going to work for her. That's not going to excite her and engage her. So you gotta play that game. You gotta say, okay, well, I really want to know what motivates her. Okay, what motivates her is to have a company car. Okay, can we offer her a company car? Because JD, look, most people don't realize this. I'm going to break this down. Do you know most of our team members will settle for things that we're not thinking about in order to reduce the things we are thinking about? What do I mean? You might have a staff member and you're saying, oh, I got to pay this lady £30,000 a year. She, if you sat down and spoke with her, might say, listen, if I got a company car, if I got 15,000 a year, and if I've got, 32 days of holiday instead of 21, I would do everything for you. Check this out. Company car might cost you 12,000.
Right. It's not that much.
The salary she wants, plus the company car, plus the holidays might work out being less than the 30,000 you were stressing about.
That makes sense.
A lot of the time, we don't open our ears to the audience. We don't open our ears to the people we're talking to. And it just takes that small change and your entrepreneurial journey can catapult.
That's amazing. So basically cast a future for the project that the person you work with, and then for yourself, cast a future for the lifestyle, or basically what you're looking for. So that's why I want to practice that right now with us. For you, what would you vision cast for yourself? And I'm going to say 5 years. What does your life look like? What are you doing? How has it changed?
I love that. So 2027 we're talking about, right?
Yes.
So in 2027, I'm going to keep it out here. All right.
Let's go. Yeah.
My wife and I are going to be transitioning. All right. Now, when I say transitioning, what I mean is we've spent a lot of time coaching, supporting, and developing people in the property space. And we've also spent a lot of time building our own successful property investment portfolio. In 2027, what we're going to be doing is building our own school. Okay. So that's a transition. That's a transition out of, the real estate education into what I would call holistic education. So my wife and I, our goal is to set up our own federation of schools. We both used to work in education, but we want to set up our own federation of schools, which is I would say a Bible-based curriculum supplemented by entrepreneurship and enterprise.
Wow, that's amazing.
So 5 years from now, that's how we're going to be serving. We're going to be serving in a different way. You know, right now we're equipping people to become financially free. We're equipping people to understand financial independence, property investment. But in 5 years from now, we're going to be working with the youth. We're going to be taking them to a whole nother level. We're going to restructure the whole education system by offering our own schools that shift the mentality of the children.
Man, that's amazing. And speaking of how you're shifting people's mindsets now, I know you do this pretty often, but you have a challenge coming up, and it's basically kind of what we were talking about, cash flow. So definitely
100%.
go ahead and talk about the challenge. When is that coming up, and what is that about?
100%. So we run a challenge, like you said, quite often. Our objective in these challenges is to literally catapult people's cash flow. Now, I meet people's, and again, like we met in the challenge we met in, I meet people from all over the globe. And a lot of the time, their biggest challenge is, how do I actually understand what to really do to build cash flow and replace my income? So in the 5-day challenge that we do, we break down cash flow creation science, cash flow creation strategies, cash flow creation skills, cash flow creation systems, and then side by side with all of that, we finish on day 5 with cash flow creation success. So we just equip people to understand the full framework in order for them to create cash flow.
Wow.
So for those of you who are interested in radically shifting your cash flow, it's a paid challenge. Okay, we need you to invest in yourself in order for you to develop yourself. But we use that cash flow creation challenge to really shift people to the next level, helping them to understand, you know what, I don't have to live on that 30-day going back to the well for the water. I can live with that everlasting water that's dripping into my bank account every single month. So that's how we do it.
That's amazing. And some of your students, some of the people that have gone through this challenge, what did they get at the end of it, or what did you see from them changing their mindset, focusing in?
That's a powerful question. So the first thing is, we get so many people who go on our 5-day challenge. First thing they say to me, Samuel, you're teaching stuff no one else is teaching. And the funniest thing is, that always surprises me, because most of the principles that I've learned about property and real estate, I get them from the Bible. And I'm like, isn't everyone reading this? Like, this book is like, it's so common. There's Bibles everywhere. You might as well call the book free. Yeah, you got to pay for one, but you can rock up to certain hotels, they got a Bible inside. So right. I'm like, why isn't everyone using this? And I know a lot of the personal development coaches that I hear out there, I've been listening to for years, they're really just taking the Bible and remixing it, even though people don't know. So this is why it's so funny to me. But basically, the people that come on this challenge, they leave understanding exactly how to apply these principles to their own property investment journey. So we had one lady, for example, who through our training, she's been able to shift things from a space where she had never ever used anyone else's money. She'd always invested in property using her own money until she joined forces with us. And since then, she's been able to raise over £100,000 in terms of her own property investment journey. We've had other people who said, like, I got this message today from one of our students. She said, Samuel, thank you so much for the training that you've given me, because you've showed me how I can have property deals coming to me instead of me going to property deals. All right. But this is just the structure that we teach, because it doesn't make sense. If you have to always go to the opportunity, then you're not dealing with enough opportunities, because you only got 24 hours in a day. So what we teach in the challenge is how to get those opportunities coming to you all the time. So that way you can sift through, you can filter through and say, okay, this one's a good one. This one ain't that good. This one's the best one. Okay, I'm taking this one. Oh, I'm going here. You know.
And so, it's all leverage, basically. Leverage your knowledge, leverage your truth, leverage your time. It's dope.
You said it. Leverage your time, leverage other people's money, leverage the truth in order to leverage results. That's like, listen, let me say this, JD, because what you just said is so powerful. And I think a lot of people don't realize the power of it. If you are not even knowledgeable about creative property investing and you just go and buy a normal property, do you know what you're doing? You're leveraging. Because, okay, let's say in the US, you guys have got FHA, yeah?
Right.
So let's say you buy a FHA property, all right? You're going to put 3.5% down. Right. So let's say you put $3,500 down, and then you get the mortgage for the rest. So you got $100,000 property. All right. You just leveraged
the bank's money.
You just leveraged the bank's money. Precisely. Yeah. So what we teach people is that the bank is not the only people to leverage. You can leverage your team. All right. Let me show you this. There's another resource that I created before. Team 10.
Team 10. Okay.
This teaches people how to leverage other people. Team 10, it says, discover your property power team. I created this resource around the same time I created the 30 ways, because I wanted people to understand it's not just about leveraging my knowledge. I can give you the strategies, but if I give you the strategies, you still only have 24 hours in a day. Now check this out. JD, here's this. Hear this. This is powerful. Last year, all right, there's a man, and the last lady you had on a moment ago, she spoke about him, or she spoke about his company or one of his companies. Last year, there's a man who for 6 minutes, they said was the richest man in the world. All right, Mr. Elon Musk. Okay, it wasn't 6 minutes, it was longer than that, but you know what I mean.
Right.
So last year, they say this guy's the richest man in the world. All right, now check this out. Elon Musk has the same 24 hours in a day that you and I have.
Right.
So how does he hit the richest man in the world status last year and we can't, or we don't, or we won't? The reason why is because Elon Musk, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Oprah Winfrey, all of those people, they do the one thing that most successful entrepreneurs do. They leverage other people's time. If Elon Musk wakes up tomorrow and says, look, I'm going to create a new company, his company is going to be up and running and working. Why? Because he's not going to spend these 24 hours doing it. So I teach my clients some simple maths. I say, listen, if you build a team of 10 people that are working on your property journey, if all of them give you 4 hours a day, you do know you've just turned your 24 hours into 64 hours in one day. 10 people, 4 hours each, that's 40 hours. You add your 24, that's 64 hours. So, you know, that's some basic maths. And imagine if you just keep doing that each day, each week, each month, before you know it, you ain't living on 24 hours a day.
Not at all, not at all. So save it. They're going to join your challenge. I got to join it myself, man. I think I got to be in there. So
the power of leverage.
When does that start? When does your challenge start?
So this challenge is going to be starting on the 21st of February.
Okay.
Those of you who are join ASAP. Don't wait till the 21st. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you why, okay? When people join, the first thing they get emailed a receipt. But straight after the receipt, my wife and I send you an email. And in that email, we literally give you a questionnaire with like 4 or 5 questions. And we say to you, fill out the questionnaire. So on the challenge, we can literally tailor make some of the content to your exact property experience. Because some people come on our challenge, they got like 7 or 8 properties already. They've already been doing this thing. And when they hear the strategies I give them, they're like, okay, Samuel, now I know how to go from 8 to 80. But on the other hand, we get some people who join, they're brand new. They just want to know how to do it the right way from day one. So those people we want to know as well. So we don't just come in at this level when they're at that level, or we don't want to come in at this level if they're at that level. So we tailor make it to the actual people on the challenge because we love people. Like at the end of the day, it's people that work with us. It's not just it's not about the content. I could teach on cash flow for decades, but it's about the right content for the right people to move forward.
Okay. Well, I'm excited, man. I'm gonna try to jump in there myself, and then I have it pinned at the bottom, the cash flow creation challenge. So the people that are still tuned in, I'm gonna post this, and then I'm gonna put it on the main page on YouTube coming up. I'll do a little bit of editing, but I really appreciate your time, bro. I think you really shared so much. Like a lot of things opened up my mindset. Hello, Mrs. I Can Win. Is that your wife right there? Hey, right in time. But yeah, man, I do really appreciate your time, bro. I'm going to wrap it up here. But I mean, as far as a leaving statement, do you have any last words that you want to say? Anything you want to leave with the audience here?
Definitely. Like I started with say it, see it, and seek it. And I just want to encourage every single person, the thing that is going to be the most valuable thing for you to say, for you to see, and for you to seek is your true purpose. So I want to encourage every single person who's on this right now, like whether you're into real estate, whether you're not into real estate, whether you're into property, make sure you're into your purpose. All right. And one of the best ways to be into your purpose is to be around other people who are into their purpose. One of the biggest problems we have in today's society is so many people are not into their purpose. They're into procrastination. So what we need to do is we need to shift that, you know, and listen, let me just say this, JD, it's not most of our faults. Okay. Because like I said, I used to work in education. In the education sector, we're taught to do that. We're literally taught to procrastinate with our life rather than focus with our life. So I just want to encourage all of the listeners, all of the people tuned in. Remember, your purpose is your purpose. So be on purpose with your purpose. All right. So
Man,
as your people paint their future, you paint your future, but paint it with purpose.
man, I appreciate you, bro. We're gonna call it
All
a
good,
wrap
baby.
here. Thank you so much, man. We'll talk after this. I'm gonna end the live and I'll give you a call a little bit, okay?
All right. Love, JD. Great to see you.
All right. Thank you, everybody who's tuned in. We got 6 people live right now. Everybody that's listening, go ahead and check out Cash Flow Creation Challenge. My man is doing that coming up on the 21st, and he's teaching people how to get cash flow from real estate property. If you weren't here from the beginning, this is the second episode of the Paint Your Future podcast. I'll be coming out with this probably in about a week or so. But thank you so much. We got to say it so we could see it, and then we'll seek it. All right. Appreciate you guys.